They're beautiful, and they're born to be wild. Coming up, Supermodels Untamed. In the human kingdom, there is a rare breed that stands head and shoulders above the rest. Known as the supermodels, these stunning specimens are slender of build and can reach heights well over 6 feet. Although few in number, their habitats are far-reaching, and they can be found grazing at watering holes in Paris, Milan, and New York. Awed by their beauty, mere mortals are left to gaze in wonder at their graceful movements and colorful plumage. Their beauty is their weapon, and if looks could kill, there'd be a lot of dead fashion victims around the world. But before they became full-grown supermodels, these genetically blessed babes were just camera-shy cubs.
When I was younger, I hated having my picture taken. I think probably by the time I turned 12 or 13, there's no more pictures of me in the family album. I hated having my picture taken.
In California, when people would say, hey, you know, you should be a model and I'm an agent or whatever, I'd say, no, thank you.
I wanted to be a veterinarian. Is that how you say it? Veterinarian. Veterinarian. Yeah, I used to want to take care of animals, and I used to want to write TV commercials. I kind of went through everything when I was a little kid.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was really fortunate because, I mean, my dad always told me to do anything I wanted to do. You know, oh, you could be the first woman president, you know, whatever you want to do. So I really didn't feel limits.
My parents always had very different ideas about what I should become than I had. So, you know, kind of as a child, you're being pushed towards this very serious direction. My father would have loved for me to be an accountant. Ooh, fabulous. I would have died.
But fate has a way of finding the fabulous and saving them from more pedestrian pursuits. Model scouts scour the globe in search of these rare beauties, and when they capture one, attempt to steer them into the spotlight.
Boom, smashed right into a photographer who said, I have a client, they're looking for somebody that looks just like you for this job that I'm doing, and what do you think? And I thought, what a line, you know, sure.
One day, a scout from New York came out, and she was with the Elite Agency, and, you know, she met all of the girls, and she asked me if I wanted to go to New York for the summer, and I think everybody else was as surprised as I was that they asked me to go.
I was discovered in Czechoslovakia completely by accident. I was approached on the street by a scout.
I was first discovered in Montreal walking down the street. I had just permed my hair, and I came out of the salon, and a hairdresser stopped me in the street. His name is Edward Zakaria. And he told me I should be a model and, you know, gave me the name of an agency, and I went.
But who are these splendid specimens known as supermodels? What do they feed on? Where do they hibernate? How do they protect themselves from the ravages of the wild world of modeling? In the next hour, we will examine these magnificent creatures in their natural state, as well as in full plumage. We will study the domestic beauties, as well as the exotic European creatures. We will find out how the male of the species differs from the female. And we will also learn that awe-inspiring beauty takes its toll on the supermodels, and how they learn to adapt to these hardships.
Can the cameras go away? Thank you.
But the cameras never stop in their pursuit of the supermodels. Later in the show, we'll show you the great stamina necessary to sustain supermodels in the wild. And when we return, we'll reveal camouflage techniques adapted by the American beauties. Welcome back to E's 60-minute salute to Supermodels Untamed. A lingering look at a beautiful breed. Hounded constantly by photographers anxious to capture a close-up glimpse of them.
Sometimes it can make you a little like, you know, know, it can get to you a little bit, but you get used to it as well.
Supermodels use cover very effectively to protect themselves from the glare of the cameras. A hat and sunglasses seem to be the ideal supermodel disguise. And the California creatures in particular seem to prefer this casual approach to camouflage. In America, the girl wearing a baseball hat and jeans may not be the girl next door. She just might be a supermodel. Rebecca Romaine is part of this naturally beautiful breed. She's a down-to-earth granola girl, born in Berkeley, California, and raised on all-natural, whole-grain foods.
I was a Berkeley baby, of course, because my mother made me my first birthday cake without sugar.
The other day, somebody was saying, well, you shouldn't let them shoot you without your makeup on. Well, I don't wear makeup, though. I don't care. What you see in the catalog in Victoria's Secret is definitely not what we wake up with in the morning, and it's important that everybody out there understands that.
Rebecca is so comfortable with herself, modeling comes very naturally.
It's not like this serious, holier-than-thou, like, you know, diva thing, because I think that's over. You know, I just think it's a really relaxed thing, which I am. Just kind of easygoing and relaxed. That's why I'm doing my interview like this. I don't know. I think maybe they sort of see a fresh, natural thing that I think I have, I guess. Sort of a, you know, a free-spirited, upbeat type of person, which I am. I'm kind of goofy, a little bit off-kilter at times.
After graduating from Berkeley High, Rebecca attended college at UC Santa Cruz. She decided to do some modeling one semester when she needed some extra money and went to Paris.
When I moved to Paris, I didn't really like it that much. I came in my ripped-up jeans and my Birkenstocks, and nobody got it. I loved being overseas. I loved the traveling aspect. I loved being there and everything, but I always vowed that if it didn't go well, I wasn't going to be one of those models who pounded pavement for 3 years waiting to get that one break.
Rebecca didn't have to wait long before Victoria's Secret snapped her up for their famous catalog. Another Victoria's Secret beauty is California native Tyra Banks. Tyra was raised in the City of Angels, where at age 17, her heavenly looks were discovered.
I went to private school my whole life, all-girls Catholic school. My first fashion show was in Los Angeles. It was a free show, like there was no pay. And the show started and they told me to act like a cat. And I thought that meant like, so I get to the end of the runway and I'm like, and like start licking my hand. And the audience just went wild. But I got backstage and they're like, Tyra, we just meant cat-like. I just started to model to help my dad and mom pay for college.
Today, Tyra is still helping others through the Center for Children and Families charity. Beneath this beautiful exterior lies a heart of gold.
You guys, when you look at the color, this is not the real color. After it's finished and glazed and fired, then it becomes the real color, okay? But when I first started working with them, everything was, that's Tyra Banks, that's Tyra Banks, oh, that's Tyra Banks, you know, and autographs this, and have a picture with you this, and have a picture from my friend at school, and now it's just like, Tyra, I saw you on TV last night, and you had on too much makeup. I didn't like that. I don't want you wearing all that makeup. So it's like now I'm a real person to them. I'm not this thing anymore, which is nice.
Like many American models, Tyra is so down to earth that she often goes unnoticed walking down the street.
Usually I wear jeans, t-shirts, and feds.
From the way she dresses to the food she eats, Tyra's tastes are all American.
I eat anything I want. My favorite food is barbecue ribs.
Whatever her mother fed her, it worked. The camera loves her.
America, when you speak of just a woman, they love hips. They love a woman to be soft, a woman to not be starving herself. That's what America likes to look at.
Tyra is right. Americans like their girls next door shapely, not stick thin. Curvaceous Kathy Ireland has become an American household name and a symbol of California beach beauty.
There was a local modeling school in Santa Barbara where I grew up. And so I went with a girlfriend of mine, and I did not feel like I was model material. My hair was pretty fried from being on the beach a lot. My nose was always peeling. I didn't know how to match my clothes. I was never a good runway model. I have great respect for runway models. It's really hard.
One thing that does come naturally for this beach babe is modeling swimsuits.
I grew up in California. I grew up on the beach, so I'm comfortable in a bathing suit. You know, it's like no big deal.
And how does Kathy keep her swimsuit shape?
Fitness is something that's always been a big part of my life. I don't believe in dieting. It doesn't work. It messes with your metabolism, and it's just not a healthy way to live.
What Kathy is probably best known for are her swimsuit calendars. They're beautiful and benevolent.
There's 3 charities that benefit from it. I think you want to have pretty, sexy pictures, but I mean, one thing that I do try to aim for is always keeping them tasteful.
It's no wonder these 3 women are as American as apple pie. They're homegrown, wholesome, and pure. Despite their modesty about their stunning looks, these sexy supermodels can never hide their true beauty, which really is more than skin deep. Later on, we'll examine the mating habits of the mighty supermodels. And when we return, a revealing look at exotic creatures caught in the spotlight. Welcome back to E's hour-long look at Supermodels Untamed, where the clicking of the camera sounds the call of the wild. With fierce competition from rival females, supermodels must outshine each other in an attempt to rule the runway. Provocative plumage is an effective and eye-catching strategy that enables supermodels to stand out, and they wear it well. Next, they're cultured, cosmopolitan, and they've captured the catwalk. Supermodels are extraordinary creatures, but even within the breed, there are some who truly stand out. These exotics have come from around the world to conquer our shores and rise to the very top of the modeling world.
This is what America's all about. It's like, this is freedom, liberty, a new beginning, coming to America like the Dutch did in the beginning.
Unlike American girls who had Christy, Carol, and Cindy to emulate, foreign-born beauties had no such role models.
Well, I never really thought about it because we don't have in Czechoslovakia a big history of modeling. I mean, I think the only model that we ever had was about 40 years old, and she did everything.
Well, modeling was a totally unknown thing in Holland. And it was never something where, you know, we grew up and said, I want to be later a model, or an actor or an actress or something.
I didn't grow up the way that, you know, maybe girls in America grow up looking up for models, you know, as their idols, or, you know, growing up, you know, maybe wanting to be a model.
I don't like to have my picture taken. It's very uncomfortable. I make my living doing something that I kind of hated doing throughout all my teenage years. So it's kind of ironic in a way.
Luckily for us, the call of the flashbulbs and the romance of the runway beckon to these enchanting emigres. And now they grace the fashion capitals of Paris, New York, and Milan. The European imports have their own distinctive look, a mixture of classic beauty, old-world charm, and ultra-modern chic. Yasmin Ghauri, a Muslim from Canada, has the exotic, dark, brooding beauty of her father's native Pakistan. Sometimes the concerns of traditional parents presented obstacles for these young beauties, now in a strange world and far from home.
For my parents, it was a little difficult from the beginning because since there was no experience or nobody knew about modeling, they all thought it was prostitution, you know, you girls. So it was a little tough.
My father is an imam, which is an Islamic priest. So that was a very big influence on my life because I had to be like my dad. So I had to go to Sunday school, I had to pray 5 times a day, I had to read Quran, I had to do all of those things that are involved with Islam. Muslims are not allowed to dance. You're not really supposed to show your skin. Like, you're supposed to be covered, you're supposed to be modest. And all these things are kind of completely the opposite of what I'm doing now.
Sometimes the complexities of language made these imported supermodels long for their native habitats.
Didn't speak a word of English, didn't know what the heck I got myself into. And I'm not very adventurous. I mean, for me to do something like this, I don't know, I must have just, I don't know, a blonde moment, I would call it.
You know, it was hard for me at the beginning because I had a language barrier. I didn't speak any languages, and you know, everything was new for me. But you know, being young, you kind of adapt yourself to anything. It's like
What differentiates these exotic wonders from the homegrown varieties?
I'm Dutch. I have an accent that's the Dutch accent.
Surely there must be more to the mystery and appeal of these transplanted supermodels.
There are lots of girls from Eastern Bloc, and I think they have more sensuality, I think, to offer. I mean, not to offer, but they're just more, I don't know, I guess they're more sensitive.
It wasn't always easy for these exotics. Rare and lovely creatures sometimes suffer the cruelties of lesser mortals.
In school, I was, you know, what did they call me? Toothpick and chocolate cake face and ugly and whatever, you name it. There's like a whole list of names. I mean, all models were always the tallest in the class, skinny, ugly. I didn't have a date to the prom.
We can only imagine that Yasmin's early critics are eating their words now. The exotic supermodels, like the best of any breed, survive and thrive by rising above the rest and maintaining a sense of humor.
So I want to go into this park. Let's go and this is just stupid. Oh God, this is so embarrassing. I've never been in one of these things and I really want to go.
The flame, which burns twice as bright, burns only half as long. These imported beauties are as hot as it gets right now. But what does the future hold for them?
I think like everybody else, I'll get older and saggier and baggier and I'll have to stop modeling.
For these down-to-earth divas, the prospect of life after modeling is a happy one, with family, friends, and business to occupy them.
Well, I hope I'm grandmother. I hope that's like one thing that, you know, I'll be able to do. But to have a couple more kids, you know, raising a family. I don't know, I don't think about these things too often. Right now, this is what I do. I still model. I have my husband and my son to take care of, you know, and so there's just so many things right now that I do. I don't really think about what am I going to do in the next 5 years.
Frederique Vanderwall has wasted no time. This sleepy-eyed, brazen beauty has already become an entrepreneur with her own lines of perfume and lingerie.
I think he would more, it's not yet to the point of where I would say it's a whole corporation because it's a mixture of things. Right? It's more the business woman, entrepreneur. One day it will be an imperium.
For now, however, these exquisite exotics are the reigning queens of the fashion world. We, as their subjects, are left to appreciate and admire, and maybe hope for some regal advice.
This is it. Stick your chest out, pull your stomach in, and push your butt out. You look fabulous.
Later in the show, we'll reveal the burden of beauty all supermodels must bear. But first, when we come back, we'll find out about the feeding habits of the supermodels and their fatal attraction to life in the fast lane. Welcome back to Supermodels Untamed, E's hour-long look at these lanky, leggy legends. The burning question when studying supermodels is, how do they stay so thin? We don't know, as we've never actually seen one eating.
It's not true. It's such a myth because all the girls I know, we eat like pigs. You know, we all love McDonald's, Chinese food, you name it, we eat it.
They're sexy, sultry, savage beauties, and they can seduce the camera with their animal magnetism as ferociously as a wild animal stalks its prey. But when these supermodels are not slinking down a runway or striking a seductive stance, they unleash their bodies to satisfy their lusty appetite for adrenaline.
I've got fire in me. It's coming out of my head.
Oh, I love the smell of gasoline in the morning.
I still don't like losing.
I feel like a mermaid.
As feminine as a mermaid and as fierce as a shark, model Malia Jones is riding a wave of success as a surfer and a supermodel.
Surfing's what I've always done, and it's what I've always known. And to live at one of my favorite surf spots, it's amazing.
The siren call of the sea and the promise of pounding surf has kept this sensual surfer close to her home on her native island, Oahu, Hawaii.
I don't really remember when I first started to surf because my mom and my dad both surf,
So me and my brothers pretty much grew up at the beach and around the ocean, and Mom and Dad used to take us out on the boards, and, you know, we'd catch waves with them. And so I never really remember, like, my first wave or the first time I went out, or it's pretty much just been a lifestyle for my family.
While most frail fashion models fear just getting their hair wet, Malia lives to conquer the wild waves.
Surfing's not just a sport, it's not just exercise, it's refreshing, it's a way to be in nature, and it's a spiritual thing, it's a mental thing, it just makes you feel better all over. Anything that's bad just isn't so bad when you're out surfing, because you're having so much fun and you're so happy.
Supermodel Angie Everhart is hot to trot and always feels the need for speed.
It's the pure muscle. I get my pleasure of riding this horse. I'm a speed freak. I love speed. I drive fast cars and I get on a horse and I ride her really hard.
When Angie isn't trotting from one photo shoot to another, she can usually be found horsing around with her best friend, Sierra.
When I was about 19, I fell off a horse and broke my back. And so to say the least, the first time I got back on, I cried. I was like, I can't do this. But I did, I got back on. It's like that old saying, you know, you fall off, get back on. And that's kind of my philosophy in life.
Although back in the saddle again, Angie's close call did curb her reckless riding habits.
I don't ride as crazy as I used to. There is a fear factor built in now because, you know, I couldn't walk. I had to learn how to walk all over again. And when you have an accident of that nature, then it certainly puts a scare into you.
Even a brush with disaster isn't enough to tame Angie's wild side.
I like speed, I like flying, I like basically most things that boys like to do, I like to do. I've lived dangerously, I've lived conservatively, but basically, you know, a horse has a good life, and so do I.
My car. This is it.
Carol Alt is also a speed demon, but she can't cut loose on a country road. Only the fast lane will do.
I would much rather be racing a car than buying a pair of high heels. I consider myself pretty much a tomboy. I mean, look at me, I'm out here racing. How many supermodels do you know? Can you name on one hand that would be out here racing today? Exactly. I've never fit in that way. I mean, anything that people would do, I do the complete opposite, always.
For Carol, going against the grain means battling with the boys. And at the Toyota Long Beach Grand Prix, she burned rubber with some of the best.
Actually, I am not as fast as some of these guys out here. It's a little scary. I always thought I was a pretty fast driver, but I'm not reckless. I'm fast but safe, so I think that's going to be my downfall of this race. I'm going to play it safe.
Win or lose, it's the adrenaline rush that makes the race so inviting. When she's not strutting her 6'3" frame, model Gabrielle Reese can be found on the sand, savagely spiking volleyballs.
For me, it's been supernatural to be feminine and athletic because I never grew up being told, okay, you've got to choose. I get a lot of my aggression out on the court. By the end of the day, I'm just wiped out.
This statuesque supermodel and professional volleyball player is a killer on the court, conquering her opponents with her voracious vertical leap. But her fixation with fast action doesn't stop at volleyball. As correspondent for the TV show The Extremists, daredevil stunts became a daily delight.
I think sometimes that those life experiences are, once you get through them again, they're pretty great. Because it also shows you something about yourself.
From daredevil to adventure seeker, from speed demon to surfer, these thrill-seeking models have all proven that they are not just beautiful creatures. Each is a fierce athlete, ready to take on whatever obstacle crosses her path. Ah, the fury of the ferocious supermodel. Later in the show, we'll study the staying power of seasoned supermodels who can still compete with their younger challengers. And when we come back, the magnificent males of the model world strut their sinewy stuff. Welcome back to E's 60-minute celebration of Supermodels Untamed, where we examine the wild wonders of these breathtaking beauties. Later in the show, we'll hear about the hardships of model life.
I don't want to be looked at as a piece of meat.
In order to maintain their luscious looks, the supermodels must spend their days grooming themselves or being groomed by others in pursuit of pouty perfection. Perpetual primping and mounds of makeup are required for the female of the species, but the males rely more on their natural plumage. And these magnificent models of unadorned beauty bear their assets well. Marcus, Mark, and Michael. Teeming with testosterone, they're the three alpha males of modeling. And they smolder, smile, and strut their stuff on runways around the world.
Basically, it's very hectic. I fly back and forth to Europe. The last month I've been working non-stop in Europe. 2 days in one country, 1 day in the next country, 3 days in the next country. But Sweden's where I grew up, and it will always be special to me.
Marcus Schenkenberg is perhaps the most popular Swedish import since the Volvo, and infinitely sexier.
My mother raised me to be a sex symbol.
With his leonine languor and flawless physique, Marcus has been called the world's first male supermodel. And that's quite a weighty title to carry, but he wasn't always king of the modeling jungle.
When I look back as a kid, you know, I was just one of the guys in school. I mean, I could never have imagined all this stuff, all this sex symbol and all this stuff. It's quite amazing, I would say. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a fighter pilot, and you know, I always wanted to be a professional NBA basketball player. That's my basketball coach who got me into working out, lifting weights, because he thought I was too skinny.
It's hard to believe this body beautiful wasn't always so buff. But fine-tuning a fabulous physique is mandatory for male models.
Some days, of course, I don't feel like working out, but I make myself go because, you know, it's almost part of my job. You know, you get used to it, and I consider myself very lucky to do what I'm doing.
All I know is that 5 years ago I was working in a bar, you know, serving beers. I made $200 a night, and I'm doing a hell of a lot better now, so I can't really complain.
With his chiseled cheekbones and killer smile, this Dutch treat is a masculine mix of rugged and relaxed, and he rules the runway with grace and style. His cosmopolitan career has not left him jaded.
That's what I like about Paris, because everywhere you go, there's a courtyard and there's a back place, and there's some beauty going on.
For Mark, modeling is not just a job, it's a joy. And rather than compete with rival male models, Mark has bonded with them.
That's the cool thing about it, because we joke around and we hang out, and, you know, we just see each other everywhere in the world.
And wherever the nomadic world of modeling takes Mark Vanderloo, he'll always be wearing a smile.
Home is where the heart is, and I'll take it with me everywhere, so.
And supermodel-turned-actor Michael Bergen has taken it off everywhere. This all-American Adonis has adorned the campaigns of Calvin and the beaches of Baywatch.
I mean, when you get a lot of exposure and a lot of publicity as a body model, you become typecast as a body model.
Or in Michael's case, a body supermodel.
I really don't understand it. I mean, what's it like? There's a person and then there's like a super person? I mean, models are models to me. You know, some do better than others.
Michael may just be the world's most modest supermodel.
I don't even want to say, like, I was so good-looking. I was on the good-looking side. You know, I would never say that. Shoot me if I ever act like that, or if I ever become that.
Whether he admits it or not, the camera has always loved Michael, even before Michael learned to love the camera.
I didn't like being in front of the camera. I mean, I wanted to like being in front of the camera, but I didn't.
And he liked the runway even less.
One time I almost had a nervous breakdown, really. And you get out there and you start walking the runway and you just see like hundreds and hundreds of people tied up against the runway, just staring at you, like with no expression on your face, like, you know, like a little twinkle in their eye, like, you know, hi, how are you, how you doing? You know, nothing, just like staring at you. You know, they're not even like staring at the clothes, they're like looking at your face to see if you're good looking enough, you know? It was very uncomfortable.
So when Michael reached his modeling peak, he decided to make the often perilous leap from print ads to prime time.
Does anyone see my chair? Oh, here it is.
From Manhattan to Malibu, Michael has joined the Bodies Beautiful on the set of Baywatch, where he gets to showcase his phenomenal physique, as well as his fun-loving personality.
I have like 20 different personalities. I'm a goofball, I'm shy, I'm nervous, you know, I'm outgoing.
And even though Michael will never admit it, he's still a sex symbol.
I can't answer that because I don't think of myself as a sex symbol. I think it's, you know, I just don't.
Goofball. Goofball is a good word for me. It's fun. It's like I feel like a little kid, you know? Let's start some trouble.
The males of the species make modeling look easy. When we return, we'll show you supermodels who are still going strong after years of wandering in the wild.
I see new covers with these new, young, beautiful girls on it. I go, I could still do that.
Welcome back to Supermodels Untamed, a serious study of sultry beauty. They woo their way into our hearts with seductive posing and sensual moves. So it's no wonder that the mating season for models occurs right after the spring shows, when skirts are shorter and days are longer. Models tend to mate with other models or with media stars, most notably of the musical variety. Could it be the age-old animal attraction of beauty to the beast? Only the supermodels know for sure.
You know, I think that models and rock stars are just like any other people, you know. I don't really believe that they say, oh, there's a rock star, there's a model, and let's get together. I think that they just happen to be in the same places, and if that attraction is there, then it happens.
Although Christy is no longer with Billy and Stephanie is no longer with Axel, these seasoned supermodels have survived in a business that often eats its young.
When I started out in this business, it was like if you were 30, you were long gone, over the hill, and you couldn't find yourself represented on the pages of a magazine, and you certainly couldn't be a model at that age. And nowadays, everybody has accepted the older model as being not only representative of a certain segment of the population, but also as being beautiful.
But Christy has always been beautiful. This Malibu-born babe with a sporty California look was modeling's golden girl in the 1980s. And in those days, models were practical rather than prima donnas.
In the beginning, when I started modeling, it was rare to have a job where they would hire hair and makeup people. So we used to carry around our own boxes of everything from the nail polish and the lipstick and all of that.
Not only did Christy tote her own tools of the trade, she did it with a smile. And years later, it's that $1 million smile that keeps this golden goddess ageless and still going strong.
And who knows, like, how long I'll be able to squeeze a job out of this.
In the fickle world of fashion, models must learn to adapt to current trends or be sacrificed by the species. Today's glum waifs are a bored breed who command the catwalk with lazy languor. It seems that a sunny smile has gone the way of yesterday's hemlines.
They've got this thing in their minds that models should not smile and they should be sexy and do this whole bit. And the truth of the matter is, for me, I think a smile sometimes is more sexy. I mean, when somebody gives you a look, a sexy look, you know they're trying. It's terrible. I hate when people are trying. But when you smile, God, that's so much sexier. So much sexier.
Like Christy Brinkley, sexy Carol Alt is still smiling and can still compete with the fashion world's fledgling felines.
Is it my fault that I'm 5'10" and weigh 125 pounds and can eat whatever I want, and that makes women, you know, force themselves into trying to be thin?
Blame it on her model metabolism, but don't hate her because she's still beautiful. Even beauty is sometimes stalked by the beast known as envy.
I'm a jealous son of a gun, yes. When I see new covers with these new, young, beautiful girls on it, I go, I could still do that.
She may be catty, but it's only because she wants a little respect from today's reigning runway kittens.
What I don't like is that we had a reverence for the girls who came before us. Lauren Hutton, Cheryl Teagues, Patty Hansen. There was a reverence and a respect. And what I find these days is that the girls have no respect for anybody or anything, that there's no tradition, there's no nothing, and that the almighty dollar rules.
Carol remembers a less frightening time when models were modest and they made money, not megabucks.
I remember my first show I did for $700. It was $700 for Calvin Klein or Ralph Lauren. $700. Now, they don't step on the runway for less than 10.
You know, the funny thing about that is that I never considered myself a supermodel. It wasn't a term that we said, oh, wow, I'm a supermodel. We didn't go around talking like that. What it was is we were models who worked every day.
I always wanted to be a model or an actress or something like that. I mean, that was always my dream since I was a little girl, so it was certainly no accident.
Another modeling legend who has survived the ravages of the fashion jungle is Stephanie Seymour. With her feral beauty and bombshell body, she oozes sensuality from every flawless pore.
I just have my sexy own little kind of walk, and I don't try to do anything fancy. I just give sex appeal. Even if I'm not feeling sexy, I make myself feel sexy so that I can do my job and get it done.
And this sultry supermodel has been getting her job done since the tender age of 14, when she first pranced on the Parisian catwalk.
Once I came back from Paris, there was no going back. I couldn't just go back to school after doing the collections in Rome and going to Paris and here and there. You know, I couldn't just go back to my hometown and be normal and hang out and forget about all that. So I was pretty raring to go after that experience.
And many years later, Stephanie's sexy roar can still be heard throughout the wild world of modeling. But this aloof, seductive beauty has a warm, domestic side. And it's the key to her survival in the ever-changing world of the supermodels.
I have children, I have a husband, I have other things that I do. My life is very full, but why should I stop doing something that I'm successful at?
When we return, we'll find out how the nomadic existence of the supermodels can be hazardous to their health.
I travel too much. Sometimes I make 3 countries in a day, and it's just too much. You don't get to enjoy the country where you go.
Welcome back to Supermodels Untamed, E's provocative peek into the minds of the models. Next up, from the mouths of babes, the truth about beauty. And it isn't always pretty.
I always say that I don't like to complain, because I always say that I get really annoyed with models who complain all the time, you know, because we're really lucky, with what we do. And I count myself very lucky to be doing what I do. And there are a lot worse jobs out there, like digging ditches or something. But you know what? I do complain. I love complaining, too.
There's a lot of downsides to modeling that it would be hard to pick just one.
It's the only business that the women make more money than the men.
It's not really a fun thing to me. It's like a 9-to-5 job.
Or I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like modeling. No modeling today.
From time to time, you're exhausted and very tired, but just have to look good and be happy and smile in front of the camera. And
what stinks about the modeling business is you never know when the next day you're going to work.
Because this is a job that is temporary. You can't do it forever, you know, so you just see a lot of girls are really nervous and jealous and just insecure, and I hate looking at that and seeing that and having them obsessed about their weight.
I mean, this is my job, you know. I mean, when I'm in front of a camera or if I'm doing a fashion show, you're basically always being watched by people.
It kind of robs you of your identity, in a way. You become this A personality that the public expects to see, looking a certain way, acting a certain way.
Even walking in the street, people watch you. You know, as soon as you have like hair and makeup, you kind of become this person that people watch. And it's also something that you kind of have to just accept.
People always expect you to look so glamorous, you know, and you don't always. You get simple like everybody else.
Everyone thinks it's very glamorous, and it's not nearly as glamorous as people see it as being.
I put this spot cream that my doctor gives me. It's pink, and my poor boyfriend has to see me at night with little pink spots all over my face, but that's the only thing I can do.
As a model, you sometimes feel like an object. You feel like a doll, you know. People pull your clothes, they do your makeup, they pull your hair, they fly you in, they fly you out.
Constantly traveling, constantly living out of the luggage, definitely.
I would really like to know what it is to not be on a plane all the time and to to just, you know, live life like everybody else, to come home and cook and you know, and I don't know, take a stroll in the park and just do enjoyable things.
I travel too much. I can, you know, sometimes I make 3 countries in a day, and it's just too much. You don't get to enjoy the country where you go.
The traveling is also very, very difficult when you go back to back to different jobs all over the world. You know, you're constantly jet lagged.
After a while, you kind of get tired of just doing. I felt like I was on one big runway. You know, I had never left the runway. I was just kind of walking, you know, back and forth on it.
But it is kind of a weird job, I have to say.
As seasoned supermodels migrate from the wild into domesticity, their fabulous faces and figures will be missed in the modeling world. But never fear, for where there is fashion and the thrill of the runway, there will always be newer, younger supermodels to take their places and propagate the species. For supermodels will never really be tamed, but younger specimens can be trained to command the catwalk. And when they do, we'll be watching.
If it's happening on entertainment television, it's happening on E!